Good morning. Today is the last day of October, the third. No, not actually. It's not the last day. Tomorrow is the last day, the 31st. Where are we? We're the 30th today. So today is the 30th of October 2024, and I'm going to go through my trading plan today. But before we start, as always, let's see what news has come in and what will come in today, because this is what could move the market. We had 8:30 GDP. Saw a bit of a negative move from that, and we'll look at that in a second. Coming up later, we got home sales at 10, oil at 10:30. So just keep an eye on any oil. If you're trading crude oil, keep an eye on that around 10:30, and obviously if you're in any stocks at 10, keep an eye as well. Okay, so on my screen we're looking at the ES. This is the S&P E-mini futures, and we're currently on the 1 hour time frame. I took a great trade yesterday. Let's open up my pen. We talked about this area here was watching for a bounce, and it was coming from this trend line. What trend line was I looking at? It was that area, 58.40, and it was basically we had a trend line drawn in. I can't remember where it came from now, because I changed my trend lines today. I've tidied up quite a lot, and in fact I'm trying out some new chart software as well, which is equivalent to TradingView, called Go Charting. It's got order flow built into it as well, so I'm just trialing that for a month. I might even use that tomorrow in my video. But anyway, I was watching this level here because it's a level of confidence. If you go back, there's some more pivots, and it was coming into a bit of a trend line area as well. I think I had a trend line drawn. I think it must have been just going through here like that, roughly around there it was. I think it came from, in fact I know where it came from this bottom pivot down here as well. So I had a bit of a trend line, and it was a perfect bounce. In fact I've now ditched that trend line, so I just used the more local pivots, and the bounce was perfect. I got in as we got into that zone there, and I didn't like it, and I got back out again, and it's very small, like a quarter of an hour loss, and then I waited again, and I saw it turn around. We put in a small bottom tail candle. Let's go into the 2-minute chart. Here we go, on the 2-minute chart as well, on that trend line. So I ended up coming in on that candle there. When it broke the bottom, I got out and I waited, and then I got in again on this candle. So it's brilliant risk to reward. I think my stop was a little bit above that candle, and my entry was a bit above, my stop was a little bit below. I got out for 3R, which was about there, and then I trailed it up because I had some stuff on, and I didn't really want to be watching the market. I want to concentrate on what I was doing yesterday. And then I did have my stop at 5R as well, which is about there, and I should have just left it, because not once was my trade in drawdown. So I got out for about 3R in total, 2.8R, and it went on to make 17, 14R. I think I went further than that. Had I just left a run all day, look at that. That trade would have hit 19, almost 20R. So I need to start working on my runners. I think that's the one of my main areas, because I got out just happy with the profit. I had the first 2 weeks of the month, I had quite a few losing days, and then the last 2 weeks I've had winning days. I'm trying to just not have as many red days. There have been small red days, but still it still hurts psychologically. So let's go into the hourly, and let's try and pick yet another brilliant area to watch for a bounce. Okay, so back to my pen, zoom in a bit. Can't seem to get rid of those lines, hang on. Here we go. So I'm going to watch again for a trend line bounce. Now I'm using the latest pivots. So I'm going to watch yesterday's low area, 58.50, for a bounce, and I think that's a good place to watch for a bounce. This region here, 58.40 down to 58.50. So this is the area again I'm watching, and it happens to be yesterday's low as well. So 58.48. That's my main area. Rejection, I still quite like this area up here. We've rejected it quite a few times over the last few weeks. whether it's going to reject again. But if we do get up there, then one thing we can note is this narrowing pattern. You know, it's a chart pattern. Depends which way you want to see it, and then potentially we could be just playing up like that until we make a decision, either going to break out that way or break down that way. We're in an uptrend, and so it's likely we might break out, but who knows? We've got lots of earnings coming up. I think there's some big earnings tonight as well. We had some, was it Meta last night, which I think may have pushed Nasdaq up. So let's recap. I'm going to watch this area for a rejection. I'm going to also watch for a break and retest long as well. I'm watching yesterday's high area for a bounce off of this trend line, and again it might poke through. So if it does poke through, how I'll play it is a bit like it did yesterday, even though I got in a little bit too early. I want to see it come into that area, poke through, come back out, and then look for the first entry out of that area. If I've got a zone drawn, if it comes into this zone, then I'll be looking for a push out of this zone. And then obviously we can watch this area here, 5900, 5910 for rejection. But if we do lose this area, I'll be watching for yesterday's low break and retest. If we lose that break line, if we use that trend line, potentially pre-market low break and retest short as well. Into this region. This can act as a target if we're looking for the long, and then we've got this region down at 5800 for the bounce. SPY again is setting up that same pattern. So that was the trend line I took yesterday. Actually, it came straight through, it poked through it, came back out. So let's get rid of that one, and we've got this pattern forming again. Could do the same. We could see it just bounce down. That's the bounce area. I like 579.50 for the bounce, and then I do quite like the rejection at pre-market high, yesterday's high area. If it can reject, if it breaks through, then we can watch for a break and retest of those areas long. So break and retest of pre-market high long. We do have a volume shelf above. We have two volume shelves. We've got the point and control as well, so we've got to get through that. That's why I quite like it for the rejection. But if we can get through the point of control, we've got a little bit more volume up this area as well, and we can watch out for a target and also a rejection. And then bounces, I still quite like this area down here, 576, 575 area for the bounce, and obviously we've still got this 566, 567 area for the bounce if we get down there. SPX levels have not changed at all. Notice how they're still trading in the zones we've specified. You can see there's a zone, there's a level there, you can see clearly a level there, and we came into that level again today. Look at that. So even though we poked through a few days ago, came back down, those levels are still holding. We've got this level here, a gap, and then we held it, bottom tails through it, held it, bounced, lost it, gapped up to that point. So I don't think there's no coincidences. Held it again, broke down, and then we pulled back into that and then pushed up yesterday. This level here, bottoms of candles, bottoms, and we've got the bottoms of these candles as well, so that's holding as well. So 5800, 5824, 5850 area, 5870, these are areas to watch. And I'll only be going long or short on ES if we're on the right side of these levels on SPX. So for example in ES, if I wanted to go long on a bounce, say we get down to this trend line which we're watching for a bounce around this area, and then I want to see on SPX, I want to see SPX come down and get above that area and watch it bounce as well. If we break down below that area, then I don't want to go long because it's likely going to pull up, offer a bit of resistance and potentially reject and bring the SPX down, the ES down with it. Same as Nasdaq as well. So on the subject of Nasdaq, this is the NQ. One thing I do like right now, two levels, I do like this break and retest of this zone. Right now it's setting up to be a nice long. We broke through, We came out, we retested. Notice how we retested that pivot yesterday. That would have been a great trade. Now we come back down and we're retesting this zone as well. A bit of volume as well. So we have got a bit of a volume shelf. Nowhere near as big as the point of control, which leads me to the next bounce. Down here is another bounce area. So we've got the zone labelled, lots of volume coming through as well. So we can watch 2500, psychological number. Watch out for a bounce. We can watch for a high risk bounce where we are right now, and that's a high risk because obviously we're so close to it. And obviously we've got this trend line we can watch as well, and we may not get down to it today, but if we do, we've got this trend line, this region to watch 2450 to 2500, this area here to watch for a bounce either today or the next day or so. Note also we hit that level 27.45, and we'll go back to see what it is, and we've got overbought as well. Last time it was overbought, sold off, overbought again, selling off right now. Let's just zoom out and see where that level is from above. Area of confidence there, hang on, that one level there. Yeah, another area of bottoms of pivots there, and you can see it came in and rejected it. So keep an eye, always look left, keep an eye on the levels. We've got 2100, which is a psychological number as well, so we can keep an eye on that number there. You can see last time we got to there, we touched it and rejected it. Obviously after we put in the old all-time highs from July. We've not been able to get back to all-time highs. I'm like ES lagging behind a bit. But we've got a few levels we can watch. There's probably a level in between there as well, 21,000. Let's go back to the plan. And I think that's it really. QQQ. I do like QQQ at 500. We talked about this yesterday. It's a rejection point. It's been a rejection point for a few days, as you can see. And we finally broke through it. Now we're coming back up. Two plays we can watch for. We can watch for the bounce of this region coming into a volume shelf as well on the volume profile. So we watch for a bounce pre-market low area, or let's go down, zoom in a bit. We can watch for a break and retest short of pre-market low. This region here. You know, when I looked at it about half an hour ago, we was up here. It was up at 501 area, 502, and looked like a better bounce at 500 as a break and retest. We can watch that for a break and retest long. If we lose this hourly candle and we don't lose pre-market, let's watch it for a short coming back down into this trend line for a test. So that's a two. So we can keep an eye on 500. 498, 499 to 500 is an area to watch. So let's watch this area, either a break and retest long or a breakdown below pre-market low into the trend line. Next is crude oil. Oh, look at that. Again, we talked about this yesterday. Keep an eye out for this level, and look at that today. Came right into it, 68.95, 67. So these levels, they just work. And crude oil is good because it's pretty reliable on the levels you give it. And excuse me, and it usually hits some of the levels of confidence pretty well. Okay, so we can watch for a double top at pre-market high for rejection. If we can get above it, watch for a break and retest into this point of control, which is at $70. You can see a big volume shelf there, point of control, highest volume for this chart. Area of confidence as well, area of consolidation, bottoms of candles here. So what was the floor and it's now the ceiling. We've not got back up there, so I do like $70 for the rejection. It's on my door. I'll be back in 2 seconds. I'm back. I apologise for that. Something at my door. So where are we looking? We're looking at crude oil. We're just saying how reliable these levels have been. You can see how reliable they have been, and you can literally play between these zones quite easily. Bounce wise, I do quite like 67. I've got 67.13 labelled up at 67. It's like a round number. Watch for the bounce, and then we'll be putting in a quadruple bottom, and if we hold that and we don't lose it, then potentially we could be watching for it to curve around to start making another move back up. So just recap: rejections at the point of control, that's my favourite area at 70. We can look for the break and retest pre-market high into that 70 area. We've got the 200 moving average coming down into that as well, so that's why I quite like this area for the rejection. Lots of confirmation. It's a level of confidence. We've got a big area of volume. The point of control goes for it, and also the 200 moving average comes into it. So lots of reasons to try and find a short around there. Again, we'll wait for confirmation coming in, put in a top and tail candle, maybe a reversal candle, and then on the rejection back down, try and take it. Gold, I believe, put a new all-time high in, or not quite today. It did yesterday. I did in the morning actually, 2 AM. So it did put a new all-time high in. Bit of a volume spike there. Let's have a look at the daily at gold to see whether we're getting to an end of a trend or not. We're pretty extended, so I wouldn't like to go long at the moment. Volumes looking average, it's not too bad. We are overbought on the RSI. You can see last time I was overbought, we sold off, and we overbought. We tried to sell off, but we're still going long, so it's hard to go long right now. See if we can find some levels on the hourly. Okay, we've got a trend. That's our trend there. We've got another trend there. Another trend there. Notice how it's fanning. So it's getting steeper and steeper, moving further and further away from the moving averages. I think if it sells off and we can get back down to yesterday's low, we can see we broke out and retested that pivot yesterday, but I do quite like it to come back down into that region. 27.70 for the bounce. Area confluence, top of pivot, tops of these pivots here, bottoms of these pivots from yesterday. So let's watch yesterday's low for the bounce. It's hard to go long, but it's also hard to go short when it's so strong. Potentially, if we lose pre-market low, maybe we can watch on yesterday's high. If we lose it, we watch for a break and retest short into this area. And you could take a high risk on both break and retest long into new all-time highs. 2800 psychological number as well, so kind of see why it's hesitating around that area. I don't like going short at all-time high or rejecting all-time highs because we've just got no levels, but we could watch for a high risk if it hasn't already happened, rejection, but all the break and retest to get over that 2800. Difficult on that. Okay, RTY, a bit like we were talking about on oil earlier. We saw it gap down and then putting in that curve. That's our trend line. So if we break pre-market low, yesterday's low, we can watch for a break and retest short. Now we're breaking that trend line. Any volume? Yeah, we're right at the point of control right now. Big area of confidence. Tops of all these pivots, bottoms of pivots, tops of pivots there. Kind of break through right at that point now. And what is that now? That is 22.45. So yeah, break and retest off yesterday's low rather than pre-market low, because we've just got that little bit of pivot to contend with then. Short. Otherwise, if we are setting up a change of trend, which you could say we might be right now, we've broken out, pulled back, we've retested this area yesterday. This is like the neckline. Potentially it's a head and shoulders pattern, break and retest. Let's watch for a break and retest over pre-market high, with the first target as those pivots 22.62. Notice lack of volumes declining in that area as well, so should be able to break through that okay, and we'll be above the 200 moving average and above all the moving averages then. So two plays really, break and retest long, or we can watch for the break and retest short into this bounce. Three plays into 221, 22.21 for the bounce. YM. So we've got this trend. You can see quite clearly we're you could say we're kind of holding it. We held it and now we flipped it, so we're now holding it up the other direction. So we could use this as a bounce area, potentially 4,200, round psychological number, potential bounce. Obviously there's no volume on here because I'm zoomed in a bit, but I'll zoom out in a minute. So let's watch 42,000 for the bounce, and if we can get over pre-market high, it'll be breaking this little trend we're in at the moment. Let's draw it again. So we've got this trend we're in right now, and if we can get over pre-market high, watch for a break, retest of this point of control, which is 42,500 long. The point of control, look at that, it's exactly at 42,500. So we've got all that volume there as well, so we know that's an area. Likewise, we could also use that as a rejection area as well, but I like to think we're putting in a bit of a change of trend here. So break and retest a pre-market high into yesterday's high as a target. Let's zoom out a bit, and we're looking at 42,000. You can see it's been a significant area before. We held it there before we finally broke out, or we broke it, retested it, bounced a few times. You could say we held it there as well. That's pretty close. I don't see these as lines, I see it as regions. 42,000. So I think that's our next bounce area to watch for, and then we'll be still in that downtrend. And then finally Bitcoin, which has been strong. Did it put in an all-time high? I think it might have done. Let's go to the daily. Where are we there? All-time highs were there. Not quite an all-time high. Might be an equal all-time high possibly. 73,835. 73,835. 73,624. So not quite an all-time high. However, my alert didn't go off because I was looking to sell up here. So I'm going to look to sell some of my Bitcoin today. I've been adding in. I took a bit of profit there. Added back in again. I forgot to take profit on the pullback to this trend line, but we've been talking about this pattern for a long time now. It's been really bullish, so we've been watching it for some months. This is the cup, this is the handle, and you can see this is a bit of wick-off theory here as well. You can see quite clearly where we've been testing the extremities of this range and watching for volume, and then we broke out, come down to 50% of the range, retested it on reduced volume, and then it means there's no more sellers looking to push it down, so we're above the 50 moving average, which gives you institutional support as well, and big push up, and we're out. So I'm going to take some off shortly. I'll see what happens in the next hour or so. I really want to take it off at the all-time highs, or definitely want to take off at the tops here. I don't know, I set an alert and I must have missed it. I probably dismissed it. When was that? Tuesday the 29th. At some point yesterday it hit the eyes. And then I'll be looking to add when we get back down to this point of control area. So this region here. I don't have much Bitcoin, but it's kind of been something fun. I've been trading for the last few months. Well, I've been trading it for the last couple of years. I've been buying in. When we broke down below here, and it came and retested that region. I started buying in then, buying in, and then so my average price was around about here, and then I've been getting out, as you can see. Okay, so let's quickly look at order flow on the ES. Oh, let's do some levels for today on Bitcoin in case I want to trade it. I think I might have just mentioned it. We can watch previous all-time high. Not sure why it's doing that. Save that. Previous all-time at 73, 74. For potential rejection, will be a big double top. If this isn't the double top, note also the increased volume in that area as well. So most volume we've had for some time, about there, when it's at the bottom of the range, bottom of the range, bottom of the range. Yeah, there's a big bar, so kind of volumes in line, bottom of the range. So notice how top of the range, notice how the big volume spikes happen when we get to these areas. That one there as well, up here. And then we've had a bit of increase in volume, but not massively increase in volume. But we're getting a bit of increased volume the last few days, but then we've got bigger candles the last few days as well. Okay, so pull back to 66 to 68, we can watch for a bounce coming off that pivot as well. And I think that's probably the best place. Or 70,000 is also a psychological number. And we can watch 70 as well for potential bounce as well. Come back and to continue to trend up. And now ES, and let's look at the order flow. Market opens in a minute. Back to the hourly. So we're watching 58, 55, 58, 60. 58.50 really for the bounce. Let's flick to my order flow screen. So you can see here cumulative delta and the price. This is the price coming down. Cumulative delta's declining as well, so nothing indicating a reversal. We've got a couple of point of controls next to each other, and you can see the market come back up to those levels, those 2 point of controls, which is hidden on that yellow line now, and rejected. That's what I use this 30-minute for, to see where highest levels of volume are. And there's nothing really to see at the moment, but keep an eye on this if you're coming down into that level of 58, 55, 58, 60. And what we're looking for is something setting up here. For example, here we've got a double bottom. We could see the price start to increase, but if this is still going sideways, then we could be looking at potential reversal areas. And obviously if you look for reversal, look for volume to be in the bottom half of the candles as well, and that's another confirmation. And this is a volume, this area here, but nothing unusual. And I also look for stacked buying imbalances. So we've got 3 buying imbalances here. These are the light blue, 2 together, quite powerful, and then 3 in that bar. Looking for 3 or 4. If they're all together, then that potentially acts as a level area of support as well, if we're looking to go long and it's pulling back down into that region. Yeah, nothing really to talk about right now. I will do a separate video on what I look for in reversals and on order flow, because it's quite interesting. It works pretty well most times. Okay, market's open, so trade safe, and I will be back tomorrow at 1 PM here in the UK, because the clocks went back, so that's 9 AM Eastern time. Okay, thank you for watching, and trade safe. Don't forget the order flow stream's on my other stream right now, and that'll be on until the end of the day. Thank you, bye bye.